got from Hiram Clark. Beast got from Hiram Clark. Beast got from Hiram Clark. Beast got from Hiram Clark.
All right, it is the B Block Podcast, and I appreciate you for being here with me. I am Brandon Scott, your host. We're doing this episode live. We rarely do that, but I'm trying to do it a little bit more. I had time. I felt like it, felt motivated to do it. So here we are on the B Block Podcast live. Appreciate y'all again for being here on the YouTube page. If you're listening to this on the audio platforms only, after this thing is being podcasted, I want to invite you guys to come over to the YouTube page and to check us out. It's where you can kind of interact a little bit more and we have a good time. So the reason why we're here, what brought me here, honestly, I was going to talk about the Texans and what's in front of them coming up this weekend against the Jaguars on Sunday, them being shorthanded. But I also figured I could react to the Rockets Spurs game, since that was going to be probably the more like entertaining and like I think worthwhile Houston pro sports competition, if you will. Like I was much more into this game tonight than I will be Sunday's game between the Texans and the Jaguars. I just got to go ahead and admit that on the front end. I'm not ashamed to do so. So that's where we are with that. I also want to, since we're here on the front end, to mention that I'm doing a lot more Rockets content these days. Not just here on the podcast, on this podcast, but I'm doing the Rockets Collective with Will and Brado once a week. I'm doing it, and Ali Khan Bajani is going to join us a time or two as well. I think he was already doing the show with those guys before, but I've joined since, and I'm doing once a week with Jackson Gatlin at Locked On Rockets. So far be it for me to kind of step outside here and promote other podcasts in the first 2 minutes of this podcast, but I did want to mention that in case you're looking for your Rockets fix, or if you're trying to figure out where else you can get that type of content, those are the places to go. As it pertains to this specific game, how disappointing of a game was this? Or I should say, how disappointing of a result was this? Like, this was, like, honestly, man, watching the Rockets lose to the Spurs 121-110 was an infuriating watch, as entertaining as the game was, right? And I don't think the game was entertaining all the way through. It had its moments. It was competitive. It was hard-nosed, hard-fought. There was a lot of like hustle and effort. And again, it was a close game. I feel like that's what made it entertaining more so than anything. And on top of that, I would say the stars in the game, right? Like, you've got Wemby. Anytime Wemby plays, it's appointment viewing. Anytime Wemby plays against a contender like the Rockets are, it's appointment viewing. And of course, the Rockets got Kevin Durant, Alperen Sengun, Amin Thompson, who's been incredible lately. So, like, there were all the stars, all the reasons to tune in, all the reasons for this game to be on Prime. And I know from a Rockets standpoint, I was really expecting them to get up for this game. I was especially curious to see how would the Rockets get up for Wemby. I would assume one to respond to the last couple of games that he's had. Like Victor Wembanyama, when the Spurs were on the road against the Lakers and on the road against the Suns, he did not have his best games over the last couple of games. And to be clear, he did not have his best game in this one either, but they fought through it and they were able to make it work. But the disappointing part was not just that the Rockets lost this game. Okay, and it's their third loss of the season, 5-3 now. It's not just that they lost the game. It's always about how it looks. It's always about the way you lose or the way you win. And it's not even just about style per se, but it's like what can I glean from this? What are the indicators? Why did you win this game? Why did you lose this game? And the reasons why the Rockets lost this game are way tougher, to me, way tougher pills to swallow than the simple fact that they lost this game. Like, I remember the season opener when they lose to the Thunder, that game goes to overtime. It looked like it was two teams that were worthy of winning the game. And of course, the Rockets have since made some adjustments with their lineup and their rotation that I think helped them get on the winning track a couple of games later. And of course, they rattled off that 5 game winning streak. But you looked at that game and you didn't come away from it. Like I came away from that game against the Thunder feeling just as good about the team as I would have had they won the game, based off of how they played, based off of how they fought, maybe based off the fact that they were playing the defending champs on opening night and banner raising, ring ceremony, all of that. But I thought based off of how it looked, it was by and large an encouraging loss, even if you're not into the whole moral victory thing. This was quite the opposite. This was quite the opposite, watching them lose to the San Antonio Spurs. And it was, again, the reasons why. What did this game come down to? If you watch the game, the game came down to really two things. It came down to the Spurs offensive rebounding and not just creating the second chance opportunities, but converting on the second chance opportunities. So the Spurs and their offensive rebounding and their second chance shot creation and making that stem from that. And then the Rockets and their turnovers. And they've had some turnover issues. I wouldn't say that they've been like drastic, just for the simple fact that had been at least the number one offense in the league, scoring points at a ridiculous clip, and it just didn't really seem like it mattered or like it was affecting them all that much. But it definitely did in this one. This was another one of those, and I feel like they have at least moments of these, even when they win. They have one of those or several of those, oh, they need a point guard moments. This was one of those, oh, they need a point guard games, or they need one of these guys that they got playing point guard to hurry up and figure it out. They need somebody that can be the brains of the operation on the floor, somebody that can help things, calm things, and help organize things and help things come together. They need a point guard's brain out there. Okay, and you saw that, I feel like, in the turnovers. I feel like their passing for the most part this season has also been substandard or subpar. Like I've seen a lot of lazy passes, not just in this game, but lazy and or bad passes, bad decisions with the basketball. And I think that just comes from not having a floor general out there of any kind, and I don't like to lean into the whole point guard narrative, but it's hard to ignore after you watch a game like this. Hard to ignore when you turn the ball over at a ridiculous clip the way that they did. And the fact that the Spurs were able to capitalize on really all of the mistakes, whether it was the turnovers or it was the lack of rebounding. The Spurs were right there to jump all over it. And think about this, man. You wasted, again, I would say, a substandard Victor Wembanyama game. Like he didn't do much of anything in the first half. Most of his damage was done in the second half. I thought they did, by and large, a really good job of guarding him. Y'all saw Josh Okogie, which I think we suspected based off of how well Josh Okogie had been playing and just what his, player profile is. Like he's known for, defense and that sort of thing. So why not? And then, of course, the things that have been working on Wemby as of late were, throw smaller but like stockier and stronger defenders at him and make them kind of, or have them kind of get under him and see if they can disrupt him in that kind of way. And it worked when the Suns did it, worked to some degree with the Lakers, and felt like it was a pretty good idea with Josh Okogie early on in this game. And again, Wemby did not really go off in the first half, had a much better second half. But the thought of Wemby not having what Wemby could potentially have in this game, and you're still getting killed because you can't rebound, because you can't take care of the basketball, because you can't settle in on a respectable defense or a respectable defensive strategy. Like, I don't know which one of these things is more disappointing. I feel like the turnovers, as unacceptable as it is and as disappointing as it is, it's the most explainable and the most excusable of the things that they did wrong in this game. Like, oh, they don't have a point guard. Oh, this is a really good ball pressure team. Last time they faced one of those was the Thunder, and we saw how that looked. But dude, the rebounding and the defensive strategy, like these are things that are supposed to be calling cards for the Houston Rockets. Supposed to be able to rebound, not just offensive rebound themselves, but rebound in general. Supposed to be able to do that. And they're supposed to, at the very least, have sound defensive strategy and principles. If you paid attention to that NBA GM survey that came out, I think maybe right before the season started, Ime Udoka was voted by the GMs, voted across the league as one of the better, if not the best, defensive strategists. He was certainly up there, or received votes in that regard of like who's the NBA coach with the best defensive scheme. Ime Udoka, supposedly. And I don't know if this is hubris or I don't know exactly what's going on with this zone defense. I've never been a fan of zone defense really on any level. I've always thought it was like a lazy defense, like if your legs are tired or you're trying to just catch your wind and you've got length, and so you go out there and tell somebody to defend the zone instead of defending their man. Never been a fan of it. Just like from a practical standpoint and from a philosophical standpoint, I have been able to like excuse it from a strategic standpoint. I get why you might go to it here and there. The thing that we've pointed out on the Rockets Collective, specifically, I think Will pointed this out, but he's correct on this. Is like, man, any NBA team or collection of NBA players that are worth their salt are going to be able to figure out a zone. They're going to be able to beat a zone. Like, and then he did point this out on our most recent episode. Y'all check us out on Rockets Collective. That usually the zones work on kids who can't shoot 40% from three. It usually works on guys who are not experienced enough to know to catch it at the, just to find the center of the zone the way PJ Washington was when they played the Mavs the other night. And I know they beat the Mavs, but Washington was killing that zone. He was killing that zone. And why? Because he knows what he's doing. He's seen a zone or two in his life, and he's a professional. He's equipped to knock down shots despite being in a zone, despite you being in a zone. So, like, this is not high school. This is not college where you can confuse guys and they don't know what to do in the zone, or they just can't knock down shots and shoot you out of the zone. No, the NBA players can and will do both. Like, they'll either shoot you out of it, they'll just make their threes, or they'll, get it to the elbow and, floater right there in the soft spot of the zone. Like, one or the other is going to happen. And so I'm curious as to why Ime Udoka and this Rocket staff is so committed to the zone. I'm able to justify it because they have this length, right? They've got all of this size, all this length. I get how a zone could be disruptive, especially if it's a change of pace, change of field type of thing. But that it has not been good at it really at any point this year. They have not been effective at it. They don't always necessarily seem to know, like, not that they don't know how to run a zone, but it just does not look, like when Syracuse runs its zone, you're like, man, they practice, you could tell they practice zone. They don't play nothing but zone defense. Whereas with this team, you can tell that you can look at them play zone and tell that they'd rather be playing man to man. And that's not supposed to be obvious to the naked eye when you're watching them play that. So that's an issue. I also think I know that it's related. This zone thing is related to the issues that they were having on the boards, right? Like I could see them implementing the zone or mixing it up. But why would you continue to do that once the Spurs have shown themselves able and willing to crash the boards, the offensive boards, in a similar fashion as you are as the best offensive rebounding team in the league? You got the best offensive rebounding team in the league, in part because you have the best offensive rebounder in the league in Steven Adams, but you got a bunch of guys that get after the offensive boards. And here are the San Antonio Spurs fighting fire with fire. Here come the San Antonio Spurs spitting the Rockets gospel right back at them and saying, you know what? Y'all ain't the only ones that can grab your own misses. We gonna do the same thing. And we especially gonna do it if y'all gonna be out here in a zone. Why does a zone make it harder for you to rebound? I don't want to go all like mansplaining basketball to people, and most of y'all already know this and understand this. But when you're playing man-to-man defense, shot goes up, you box out your man, or at least account for your man as you go and pursue the rebound, right? You're playing zone and you're not guarding a man, you're just guarding an area, and all the men are free to roam around and like vacate said zone to go crash the boards. There isn't as clearly as someone to box out in that situation. And so now you got folks running free, folks running wild, folks able to go and offensive rebound the way that they did. So the zone not only did not work from a defensive schematic standpoint, the zone also made them vulnerable and more susceptible to the offensive rebounds. And so it was actually kind of wild watching this game, and especially looking at the numbers after the fact, when like from watching it that it was the boards that killed this team. It was the offensive rebounds, it was the second chance opportunities, the second chance points, the turnovers, the points off of the turnovers, and I'll rattle off those numbers in just a second. But to realize that even with that, the rebound and stuff I talked about, the Rockets still out rebounded the Spurs. The Rockets still out rebounded them on the offensive boards. But it just goes to show you it's not as much about how much you are rebounding or how many offensive boards you're getting, as much as it is in this case, especially how much of it you're giving up. And so in this game, it ended up mattering much more that the that the Spurs had as many offensive rebounds as they had, and far less that the Rockets had as many as they had. Right. And so you look at these numbers, the Spurs, this just cannot happen. All right. Unacceptable. Cannot happen. The numbers that I'm about to rattle off to you. And shout out to the Spurs for playing hard. And you had guys out there like, who did you have? You had guys like Champagny. Feel like Keldon Johnson was one of these guys. Had a lot of guys out there crashing the offensive boards. But you look at it, and these cats, the San Antonio Spurs, had 33 second chance points. 33. 33 is crazy. 33 second chance points. The Rockets had 21. Doing the math there, the difference is 12. Rockets lost by 11. 33 second chance points for the Spurs, 21 second chance points for the Rockets. The difference there, again, 12. The Rockets lost by 11. Points off turnovers, 33 points off turnover. These are all points now, by the way, that we're mentioning here, that they are gifting gifting the Spurs by not rebounding in the case of the second chance points, and gifting the Spurs by turning the ball over, by giving them the ball. 33 points off turnovers. The number is the same here. 33 second chance points, 33 points off turnovers. These are points that the Rockets just gave away. The comparison, by the way, 33 points off turnovers for the San Antonio Spurs, 29 for the Rockets. They lost both of those battles, and the second chance points one, they lost by quite a bit. So these things cannot happen. This is not and they were still in the game toward the end of it. Like they tried to seem like they were just trying to find different ways to just give this game away, to just say, hey, here's the game. Y'all can have it. We don't want it. Rockets were in it basically into the end and just refused to take that game away. But these are things that just cannot happen. They cannot. Period. Let's see. What was offensive rebounds. The Rockets actually out offensive rebounded them 17-15. What about them second chance points? Right. The offensive rebound, I mean, it helps because it's an extra possession, keeps the ball away from the opponent. Like, I'm not saying that it didn't matter at all, but it matters far less that you out offensive rebound the other team if when they got the offensive rebound, they scored 12 more points than you did when you got it. That fair enough math, simple enough math for everybody. Like I mean, it's just bad. Now, that's the bad of the game, right? Like, that's what lost them the game. Again, turnovers and poor rebounding. I do think that there was some good in this game. I would point to one Reed Shepherd. That's probably the only silver lining, right? If you're a Rockets fan, like you've had your Amin games, you've had Tari Eason games, you've had Jabari Smith Jr. games, and Reed has had some moments too, even before tonight. But the fact that Reed Shepherd looked at times, and really for a good bit of this game, like their best player, that's actually kind of concerning on the one hand, because that probably should never happen given who all is on the team, but encouraging from the standpoint of Reed Shepherd looking like he belonged. And I do think that you had that. So, like, that's your one silver lining, I feel like. Your one silver lining, like the drawbacks again, aside from what we've already talked about, the poor rebounding and the turnovers. How about Kevin Durant for what I would say is really a third straight game having a subpar game by Kevin Durant standards, I would say. Like, if you're grading on the Kevin Durant curve, a couple of games ago, he was the one who was hitting big shots, and the Mavs game didn't have his best game, but knocked down a couple of really big shots, and it didn't really matter, right? Because he showed up for you at the end or toward the end of the game when it really mattered. But I feel like this is now 3 straight not so great Kevin Durant games. And I'm not necessarily worried about Kevin Durant, but this just in a vacuum was bad. The passing, the turnovers. He hasn't necessarily shot it great in the last few games. And so I don't know exactly what's going on with KD, or if it's just a kind of an anomalous rough patch. But KD's got to be better. I don't think we ever need to be afraid to say that. Like, even as grateful as you can be for having Kevin Durant on the team, and I would fall in that category. I fall along those lines of people that are grateful to have Kevin Durant on the team or glad to be able to watch him night in and night out. Like it's an honor and a privilege. Can't play like that, bro. You cannot play like that. You cannot be that flustered by the double team. You cannot make such poor decisions with the basketball, whether the double team comes or not. You know, year 19, an all-time great, been facing double teams what feel like since the beginning of time. My man should be able to make better decisions with the basketball. Disappointing that he didn't today or in this game. So Kevin Durant going through his like first Rockets rough patch or first dry spell, if you will. Not a great feeling, not a great sight to see. I would say a negative for the Rockets overall. Um, Alperen Şengün's finishing wasn't great. And look, I was invested in this one because I've been one to say that, hey, Alperen Şengün is still capable. Okay, and even though Wemby is a much improved player, an alien even, I don't think it's so much to the point to where Alperen Şengün can't get shots up against him or can't cook him a time or two or have a really big game against him. He had his moments against Wemby where he put him under the rim, same stuff he was doing to him in his rookie season. But I got to take that L on this one of, hey, he was clearly affected and finishing wasn't necessarily great. And this was not a great game for the stars, for the people that we came here to see, right? Like I think at halftime, Reed Shepherd led the Rockets in scoring, and it might have been Harrison Barnes who was leading the Spurs. Champagnie had a big game. This was the Reed Shepherd Champagnie, like it was the others game, not the Wemby versus KD or Wemby versus Alperen Şengün or Amin Thompson versus whoever. Like this just wasn't what this was. So really disappointing. Amin Thompson hit a couple of threes. I thought that was encouraging early on in the game. Hit a couple of threes, but overall was 4-12 and was mostly a non-factor. I would say mostly a non-factor offensively. What do we got here? 4-12 from the field. He had 3 assists and 3 turnovers. So everybody's plus minus is in the tank. Okay. So just not overall, not great. KD 8 of 18 from the field, made all of his free throws, but had 5 fouls and 8 turnovers. Kevin Durant, 8 turnovers, which was by far a game high, almost doubled up anybody else in turnovers. So, look, Kevin Durant can't have 8 turnovers. Okay, not in any game that they're expecting to win. I don't feel like Kevin Durant can have 8 turnovers unless they're gonna shoot lights out. And they didn't shoot. What are the numbers here? They didn't let's suffice it to say they didn't shoot lights out. Now I was gonna say they didn't shoot terribly from 3. They shot 48 from 3. KD made 1 or 2. You had a couple of from Josh Okogie. Tari Eason continues to be amazing from 3. Reed Shepherd was 4-7 from 3. They shot well from 3, didn't shoot it well necessarily overall. But if you're going to have 8 turnovers, damn it, 24 points ain't going to get it. 24 points on 8 of 18, not going to get it. You got 8 turnovers, brother. You got to go for an efficient 30-35. Kind of offset that a little bit. They did not do that. So a bad KD game, I would say an uninspiring first half from Alperen Şengün, which makes it an overall not great Alperen Şengün game. But I mean, he finishes 10 to 22 and has, 25, 9, and 8. You look at the box score, you're like, okay, he still put up his numbers, but it did not feel like quintessential Alper Şengün. Okay. So, and then I gave the numbers on KD, gave the numbers on the men. KD and the men, what is this? They combined for 12 of 30. Don't think you can really live that way. So they didn't shoot the ball well. They turned the ball over, didn't rebound, and played a nonsensical defensive strategy, especially after it was revealed to them that the Spurs were really about that offensive rebound in life. A letdown. Not the end of the world, just one of 82. First NBA Cup game, not the end of the world, but also concerning. And you want to kind of use the takeaways, use the things that you learn from this game to improve. Um, look, I don't know what there is to really say about getting outworked. Just don't do that shit no more. Stop getting outworked. Work harder. It's twice now they've been outworked out there. At the very least, twice that they've been outworked. You got to stop that. Don't get outworked. But some of the more specific X's and O's basketball things, man, maybe let's ditch this zone. Maybe let's ditch this zone for at the very least so we can rebound properly. Also, never mind the fact that you got plenty of guys, with the exception of Reed Shepard, I understand. Everybody else can guard the man across from them. Nobody else on the team has real man-to-man defensive issues to speak of. Not even Alper Şengün, who was a much improved defender over the last couple of years. Like, if the reasoning is we're doing this to compensate for Reed Shepard being out there, or we're doing this because we got double bigs and they can't stay in front of the quote unquote bigs on the other side, so we just feel like we got to just be big. I think you need to think of another way, man. Like, you can hide Reed on the least threatening perimeter player. I mean, there's got to be a better way to where you're not just giving up possessions, giving up extra possessions, and giving up extra points for no damn reason because you're playing a high school, college type zone. This ain't Syracuse. This ain't the old Big East or the ACC or wherever the hell it is that Syracuse plays these days. When they killed the Big East, I really started to get confused on who played where and in what conferences. But this ain't that is the point, and they shouldn't treat it like it. So, Ime Udoka, a smart defensive coach, a smart defensive mind, he needs to look within, do some introspection on that damn zone. KD, stop with these terrible ass passes and terrible ass decisions with when the double team comes. And he don't need me to tell him that. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I noticed it, he was probably noticing it in real time. But like, got to be better than that. Rebound the damn basketball. Pretty simple. All right, so I did a half hour on the Rockets. I kick my soapbox on that, and I'm pretty sure we'll have way much more whenever I do the Rockets Collective next week, and then again on Locked On Rockets with Jackson Gatlin about a week from now. So we'll have plenty of ball, plenty of hoop to talk about. Hopefully by then they will have rectified a lot of these things, and they'll be playing a lot better. And the vibes will be positive the way that they were all week when we did the podcast. Hey, everything was positive and like good throughout the week, talking about the Rockets because they were on this winning streak, and we had this exciting matchup coming up against the Spurs and Wemby, and they got the number 1 rated offense in the league, and all of this type of stuff. We were hyped. Not feeling quite as hyped, you know, in the moment. Let's move on real quick here to this Texans game and what's going on with the Houston Texans. I was advised by my producer. She's watching, I'm sure. I was advised by my executive producer that the Texans wasn't really worth talking about too much. That like I didn't really have to waste my time or yours talking about them very long or very much. And I had to push back and say, nah, that's not how it works. Like the grind is the grind. And if it's great, we'll chronicle that. But if it's awful and if it's terrible, we owe it to the audience. We owe it to the people to talk through that, or at least be real about it and explain it and say, hey, man, this is ass. This is why. Right. And I'm not saying like, we understand the issues and the challenges that the Texans are facing right now. But the big news of the week was monitoring their injury situation because, of course, CJ Stroud went down with a concussion in the game against the Broncos, as did right tackle Titus Howard. And, of course, we found out that Kaimi Fairbairn, their kicker, was injured. Then we got a surprise revelation about Jalen Petrie being in the concussion protocol. I don't think any of us knew about that until it popped up on the injury report. I don't have recollection of any report like that. Now I know we saw him kind of get dinged up a little bit in that game, but we just did not know. That was not very clear to us until it came out on the injury report midweek. So since then, as of Friday, Jalen Petrie, along with Titus Howard, along with, and most importantly, CJ Stroud, all three guys will miss this game due to concussion. They'll also be without the kicker again. They signed Matt Wright to come in and kick for them. But this combination of absences, and it for me, it started with the CJ, Titus Howard, Kaimi Fairbairn combination of guys that I expected to miss this game is really what got me down about their chances to win this game. Titus Howard, I think, by and large, certainly he's their most, longest tenured offensive lineman. And I think that right side between Ingram and Howard, I think the combination of those two guys can kind of say that they're the best offensive lineman that they got. And of course, CJ Stroud, I don't think that needs explaining. He's your starting quarterback for a reason. Your backup is also your backup for a reason. And then leading scorer, Kaimi Fairbairn, their most reliable bucket getter, if you will, scored all their points against the Broncos. I know they lost the game, but he scored all 15 of them bad boys against the Broncos. And who knows, man, like, if this is going to be a close one. Obviously going to come down to the kicking game. It could very well be one of those games where you win or lose it off your kicker's foot. So, look, I'm not somebody that's like, enamored with the kicking game or enamored by the kicking game. But I can, just from a practical standpoint, acknowledge that there's a reason why one guy in Fairbairn has been with the same team since he's been with the Texans since 2017 or something like that. Been around forever now. So it's a reason why one guy has spent nearly a decade with his team and why the other guy has been on more than half a dozen teams, been on some teams twice, and damn it, was available in early November for you to just go pick him up off the street. That's not like a coincidence or like a stroke of dumb luck. There's a reason for that. And so we look at the quality of quarterbacks, the drop off in quality of starting quarterback versus his backup, or starting quarterback versus somebody that you go pick up out of a deer lease, or that you go pick up off the street or whatever it is and say, hey, come play quarterback for me. We acknowledge the drop off there because I think it's much clearer and much easier to point out. We don't really do that with kickers, I don't think. We don't. But to me, I pointed out and I find it to be significant because I do feel like it's the type of game that could come down to field goals. I do feel that way. So I'm worried about this. Also, the Titus Howard thing, and we saw this a little bit in the game when Titus Howard went down. It does impact their ability to run those jumbo packages that they want to run, those jumbo sets that they want to run. Where, of course, Titus Howard is obviously playing right tackle, and they bring in their swing tackle as their extra offensive lineman, pseudo tight end, and they get big. Something that they've been doing for a few weeks now. Clearly something that they feel like they found some comfort in, a way to make up for the fact that they are not whole and have not been whole at the tight end position, right? And so this to me was all the while trying to compensate for two different things, both the fact that you're not healthy at tight end and that your offensive line probably isn't as grimy as you want it to be, probably isn't as good as they want it to be. And so how do you make it better? How do you help them out? Throw an extra one out there. How effective is that going to be if Blake Fisher actually has to play right tackle for Titus Howard and they have to figure out some other swing tackle or some guy that they got to bring up off the practice squad or somebody that they got to activate that's normally not active? Or if Trent Brown can play right tackle. Trent Brown, who is coming off of a torn patellar tendon. And is Trent Brown my age? How old is Trent Brown? Trent Brown, who is coming off of a torn patellar tendon and has not played football in a very long time, certainly not all year. He is not my age. He's 32. I saw him at practice the other day, and I gotta tell you, man, and I'm pretty sure if you ask whoever your next favorite trusted Texans media source is, whoever was at practice, they'll tell you the same thing. Looks can be deceiving, and this is in part why they play the games, but that did not look like somebody that you would feel confident putting out there in an NFL game and saying, hey, we're going to rely on this guy. We're going to trust this guy. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying that Trent Brown is coming off of a torn patellar tendon, and Trent Brown moved at practice like somebody that's coming off of a torn patellar tendon, or like somebody that has not been playing, what is it now, 8 NFL games. He has not played in the 8 NFL games that they've played this year, and it looked like it. That much was clear from watching him in practice. Now, that's not to say that he can't go out there and have a good game. It's just saying that if you're trying to predict it or project it, man, that's straight up hope trafficking. Man ain't played. Man don't look ready to play. I hope I'm wrong about that last part, about being ready to play. I hope he is. Because they need Blake Fisher in the role. Look, Blake Fisher, I think, is much worse in the role he'd have to step into if he's the one that has to play. And he's also shown himself to have some value in the role that he's been playing. And so I don't want to screw up a guy's role. I'd hate for them to have to do that, but it looks like they might. I picked the Jaguars to win this game in the Chronicles predictions, the predictions that we do every week. And I think for a while I had the best record at that too, by the way. I don't know. That's been taking a hit. Pick the Texans to lose, they win. Pick the Texans to win, they lose. You know, I had them losing to the 49ers, blew them out the water. Had them beating the Broncos, couldn't score in the red zone. Couldn't convert on third down worth a damn. What do I know? Won the game I thought they lose, lost the game I thought they win. Got them losing this one. Hopefully they stay on that streak, right? Of proving me wrong. But I just don't see it, y'all. I don't see it without CJ Stroud, without one of, if not their best offensive linemen, without one of their more unique defensive players in Jalen Petrie, who as a hybrid defensive back slash linebacker slash nobody really knows what to call him. They just know to put him out there on the field and tell him to get close to the ball. And Jalen Petrie not having that, and then not having your kicker in what is sure to be a close game, right? I don't think the Jaguars are blowing the Texans out, even though given their health situation, I don't know if you could be that shocked. But I don't see the Jaguars blowing the Texans out. I don't see the Texans blowing the Jaguars out. I don't see anybody blowing anybody out. This is going to be a close game. It's a little worrisome to not have your kicker. Let's see. I'm gonna make this point about the Texans because I've been making it on the radio, and I feel like I need to make it here too. And we can get out of here. I'll read a couple of these comments that we got. We didn't get a whole lot, so I'll try to do this a little bit more regularly so y'all can expect this, and hopefully we can get it cracking here in these lives a little bit more. But the thing that was real sobering about watching the Texans over, obviously Sunday, but then going back and watching the game and doing radio shows, listening to others do the radio shows, and just kind of realizing the state of affairs. The thing that was real sobering for me was coming to the realization that the Texans are just not that good. It's not that good of a team. I wish it was different. I wish that I didn't think that, and I wish that I didn't think I was right about that. But like this is they're not good. They're not good. They're not god awful, but they're not good. And we can complain about everything. We can break down everything. D'Amico Ryans as a head coach, I think deserves some serious scrutiny right now. Nick Caley as an offensive coordinator. I think people who are already out on Nick Caley or don't think that that's the guy that needs to be the guy calling the plays. I have a tough time arguing with him, even though I did not feel like outside of that red zone, that goal line stand where they ran fullback dive, a couple of times in a row and tried to ram British Brooks through the middle to no avail. Like I thought the red zone play calling was pretty bad and pretty awful. But to be fair, I'm not really sure what I would have had them do. Like I could have thought of some other things for them to do. What I'm saying is, I'm not really sure how much any of our ideas really would have worked all that much. Sure. After you try the fullback dive the first time, maybe you do a bootleg and you have your quarterback running on the other side after, the opposite side of wherever the leverage is at. We see that all the time. That Peyton Manning, when he's with the Broncos and they're going against the Cowboys, that play where they even faked out the cameraman and nobody was expecting Peyton Manning to run the ball. Like that seems like to be the answer once you can't do the ram it down their throat thing. But they're just not good enough, man. This is the realization that I'm having. At least offensively, the defense is a championship caliber defense. I believe that. But, unfortunately, you got to score points, and the defense can't play the whole game. At some point, you got to have the ball. And when they get the ball, it's not great. But this is the thing. The reason why I say that they're not good, because they're not terrible, but the reason why I say that they're not good is I feel like from watching that the only thing that the Texans really got going for themselves is the element of surprise. That's it. The only thing the Texans got going for them offensively is the element of surprise. That's first down, that's second down, that's maybe even third and short in the middle of the field. But on the down and distances where the totality of the playbook, the length of the playbook is at your disposal. Before the playbook shrinks on third down, or before the playbook shrinks in the goal, at the goal line or in the red zone, when there's that element of surprise, Texans got a chance. The Texans can make some things happen. Go back and look at what Davis Mills was able to do when he got in the game and what he wasn't able to do when he got in the game. First, second down, Davis Mills had a much better chance of making a play. A lot of the damage that they did, first, second down. Third down, and here's the thing too about third down, wasn't so much about the distance. It didn't matter if it was third and long or third and short. As long as it was third down and like anything outside of third and manageable. If it's third and short or third and long, and we can kind of closely predict what they're going for here, like what the strategy is here, that's when it comes down to mano y mano. We got to be better than you. Our guys got to be better than your guys, right? The tie goes to who? The better motherfucker, right? That's how it works. If we make a play call on offense and you make the right defensive play call, now it's going to come down to who is better. Offense is right. Offense stay right. Defense is right. Right. The offense dictates the play. Okay. Defense, they got the right play call. Who wins? So like on third down, there was a number of reasons why third downs went poorly for the Texans. Sometimes it was a sack. Sometimes it was a penalty. Sometimes it was a bad ball. But like a bad throw or a receiver not getting enough separation and being covered and having to throw it anyway, give it a shot. Man, when that element of surprise is eliminated, when that element of surprise is lessened, and the defense feel like they got a beat on what you're gonna do. And this is before we start talking about some of the tells and your personnel groupings and your play calls, because there's some of that too. But when they just got a beat on, all right, this is what they want to do in this situation, we not gonna get fooled by this. Texans haven't really shown themselves consistently, have not shown themselves to be consistently good enough to beat that, to go mano y mano. That was D'Amico Ryans' frustration. I understood where he's coming from about the whole, hey, look, when it come down to it and you just need a yard, this game is about physicality. This game is about pain. All right. Y'all see me sitting up here skinny and everything. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm not the best example, and not finna be the tough guy that's like, oh, you got to be, but we're talking about football. And as long as I've watched the game and followed the game, as complicated as the game can be, okay, as nuanced as the game can be, it does come down to a very fundamental element. And that is which one of us is going to kick the other's ass first. Which one of us can take an ass whooping better, still work through it. Me against you. Right? That's what football is, man. When Sunday come, you got to come see me. when Legere Sneed did the thing of who was Nico Collins thing, you know, what did Nico say? Line that shit up. Because they can do all the talking that they want. They can do all the game planning that they want. We can sit up here and talk about all the different play calls that we would have come up with in the red zone and all the different things that we would do on third down, all the different players that we would involve more and feature more in the offense. It's still gonna come down to me or you. I agree with D'Amico on that point. The sad part, and I think the frustrating part is for a lot of people, is understanding and recognizing that this is not that team and knowing that the coaches are the ones that are tasked with coming up with the solutions, and they clearly, so very clearly, do not have them. And so that part I understand is frustrating. But I also understand why it would be frustrating for a coach to think, especially one that played the game, that still thinks like a player, coaches and still thinks like a player. And I've said this myself, man, even as a skinny, 180-pound non-football player. If you can't get 1 yard, what are we here for? If you can't line up and displace, line up and gain a yard when you got to have it, what are we here for? What are we talking about? What is this? What is this? Why are you wasting your time and ours? Right? Be like if you went to go see a musician, went to go see a music show and can't come to find out certain notes they can't play. Why am I here? Why am I here for this show? That's what it feels like. When you're sitting up there talking about you can't move people to get 1 yard. Oh man, you got to think outside the box. You got to come up with another solution. You got to come up with another plan, another way. Yeah, but you know what? But for what? Why? Is it really worth it at that point? If this is what it is, what are we here for? We can all just go home. I feel that way. I don't feel like you need to figure out how do you get 1 yard when you can't displace people. I feel like we just need to go home. You lose. Because that is a fundamental element of football to me. So I agree with everybody's position of like, well, is he not watching the game? They definitely are not the physical team that they want to be and say that they are. They need to figure out something else. They need to not do that. Man, you know what though? You kind of got to do that sometimes. You can only look, and there are no bells and whistles to this offense, man. None, zero. Clint was pointed out. Clint Sterner, our afternoon host on Sports Radio 610, played for a minute in the NFL. Obviously, I say obviously, if you don't know Clint, then it's not obvious, but congratulations to Clint, by the way. Inducted into the Hall of Fame at Arkansas, an Arkansas legend, played quarterback there. He points out, man, ain't no motion. They don't run no pre-snap motion before most of these plays. Like that last drive. The last drive, by the way, look, I know it's been a week. Inexcusable. Would they take off like 20 seconds off the clock, threw the ball 3 times and didn't really move it at all and just basically gave the ball right back. They might as well have not even had the ball for what they ended up doing. That was a D'Amico thing, as far as I'm concerned. That was a D'Amico Ryans thing. But yeah, man, like they're not good enough, man. They're not good enough. Look at some of these comments before I get out of here, man. We've already been doing it for an hour. I appreciate y'all. Everybody that's dropped in. Everybody that's left a comment. World Dead Now. Bruh, is that really your YouTube name? Tell me this is not spam. World Dead Now. Shout out to you, World Dead Now. I appreciate you for being here. He's asking, and I'll edit this a little bit, does Ariante Ursary suck or something? I thought he'd be good. He's been better. I'm glad you mentioned that actually, World Dead now, because that's one of the matchups I'm intrigued by going into this game is the Ariante Ursery redemption story, the get back game. Because if you watch that first game between the Texans and Jaguars, you'll recall that Josh Hines Allen gave that man the work, the business, the welcome to the NFL treatment if it's ever been done. Took his lunch. So Ariante Ursery's had some rough moments, especially earlier on in the season. He's looked like a rookie a lot of times. Looked like a rookie. But as of late, as of the last, let's call it 2 or 3 weeks or so, he seemed fine. Like, not necessarily great, but he ain't the worst offensive lineman that they got. He don't look like he is the singular problem just because they got a rookie at left tackle, the way it looked the last time they played the Jags. So it is something to monitor. It is something to watch. The last time they played, he had a rough go of it, a really, really, really rough go of it. He has since improved and played better. Will that translate to this game? Or we going to find out that the Jags just got his number this year? I don't think he sucks. I think he's just a rookie, inexperienced, and dealing with the shell shock of, oh, blocking defensive linemen, blocking pass rushers in the NFL is nothing like blocking them in the Big Ten. Is nothing like that. World did. Now, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you for being here. But yeah, no, I don't think he sucks. I don't think he sucks. I think he's had some sucky moments. Definitely sucked against the Jaguars the last time they played him. But I think he's actually got a bright future. And I'm excited to watch him play against Josh Hines Allen a second time to see if it looks better. I mean, because it's got to. If it doesn't, I don't think they have much of a chance, especially given the fact that it's Davis Mills out there instead of CJ Stroud. But yeah, I think Ariante Ursery is going to be fine. He is not chief among the offensive line problems for me right now. It's the rotation at left guard, and then the fact that no matter who they settle on, eh, hey, look, real quick for the podcast listeners, y'all got to come to the YouTube page so y'all can catch the facial expressions. Sometimes I will speak without speaking, and I got to remember that this is an audio platform first and foremost. But if y'all come and check us out on the YouTube, you can see that type of stuff. Like the facial expression answers the rhetorical question. Adam says that the Rockets are terrible. I'm guessing that Adam is channeling his inner Charles Barkley with that pronunciation. And I'm definitely not going to put his second comment on here. Come on, Adam. What is that about, bruh? Rockets are terrible. Well, they entered the game that they lost by 11, granted, but they entered the game with the top offense in all of basketball. Top offense in all of basketball. They have one of the young budding stars in the league, and Amin Thompson, who honestly, if he's going to be on the team, it's going to be hard for them to be durable. If they're going to have Amin Thompson and Alperen Sengun on the team, and they're developing the way that they are, and I know Sengun's touch around the basket felt like it took a step back in this Spurs game, but that notwithstanding, that part aside, these guys, I don't think you're going to be able to have a terrible team with those guys at the helm. And then, of course, KD's on the team. I understand KD hasn't had, as I already went through, KD has not had a good game in a few games now, like a really good KD game. But to me, that just means that he's due. The Rockets are going to be right there in the thick of it. I think I was asked the other day, how good are they, or is it the real deal? I think that they will be a top 3 team in the West. I still got OKC and Denver ahead of them right now from where I sit, but who knows? I think that could change. Still believe in the Rockets and what they got going. They just got some things to figure out. Yeah, well, yeah, I see the comment world that about the the miss strike on the question earlier. No, and again, I don't think he sucks. What it do, Red Lobo? Appreciate you for coming through. Really do appreciate that. Dreadhead says facts. I noticed that this comment came in when I was making the point about like football just kind of got a fundamental element to it of like, man, if you can't shove the man in front of you forward, and in some cases, at the very least, avoid getting shoved backward by the man in front of you, that's the game. That's the game. 12 personnel, 11 personnel, 21 personnel, I formation, split backs, shotgun, under center, all of this type of stuff, right? All of this different stuff that you can look at, different ways that you can try to skin a cat in a football game. But at some point, the rubber got to meet the road, man. Okay, World Dead is a Minnesota everything fan. Thought Ursary was going to be awesome. He still can be. Want to remind you, and I'm sure you as a Minnesota fan understand, man's played 8 games. All right. 8 games in, he is not a Pro Bowler. He is not an All Pro. He is not awesome. Not yet. But the man has only played 8 games. Got a chance to be a lot better than what he's been. So I say stick with. I haven't given up on him, World Dead. Hope that the majority of the Texans fan base at least is still leaving the door open for him to be good. All right, man. Look, we've been doing this for an hour now. I can eat up a lot of clock, man. I could talk forever. I could probably sit here and talk about the Rockets and the Texans. And if you really let me go on tangents, who knows what else I might start talking about. But this was fun. Like I said, we're gonna try to do this a little bit more, give y'all a little bit more notice, do them a lot more regularly. Y'all can come to expect them. And again, hopefully we get it cracking here in the chat. But in the meantime, I do want to tell y'all that look, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a podcast version of this that you can subscribe to and get audio versions of the podcast. If you're listening, there's a video version of this on YouTube where you can come check out a beautiful face and interact with everybody else in the chat. Feel like I should reiterate too. Rockets Collective, Locked on Rocket, Sports Radio 610. All of these things are happening on a weekly basis. Really, combining just happening on a daily basis. Got Rockets Collective in the early part of the week. Got Drive midweek. Got Locked on Rockets right after that. Got the In the Loop on Fridays, man. We always working, man. Always working, always doing something. Of course, those Texas predictions are in there with Jonathan Alexander and the rest of the Chronicle crew ahead of every Texas game. So make sure that y'all check those out as well. I appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm Brandon Scott. This is the B Block Podcast. Find us, rate us, review us, tell a friend. And yeah, man, until next time, y'all be good.